Hi, I'm Dr. Karl Oswald, and I study human memory.
I'm Dr. Martin Shapiro, and I study learning. And we're in the psychology department at Fresno State.
So Martin, you were in college for 15 years.
Oh yeah, man, I studied biology, psychology, all I ever did was study.
All that studying you did? Well, you did it wrong. There's a better way. This video is on a strategy called retrieval practice, which has been referred to as an absurdly effective method of learning. So a typical method is something like this. You might take notes during a lecture, you might study those notes before an exam, and then you take the test. Well, I'm here to try to change your strategies. And in particular, I want to blow up this idea that studying before an exam is a good idea, and instead replace it with this idea of retrieval practice. So first, let me give you an outline of how memory works. Information comes from the outside world into our senses. It then goes into a short-term store called short-term memory. This is kind of our mental workspace that I'm using right now to speak to you, and you're using to understand my words. That information then gets transferred to our storehouse of knowledge or long-term memory. What retrieval practice refers to is bringing that information back out from long-term memory into short-term memory, which actually strengthens its storage in long-term memory. So, what's retrieval practice? Bringing things to mind. You can write things down, or you can tell a friend or a pet or a plant or whatever. Quiz yourself, or even just thinking about those things. So if I ask you, for example, about the address of your childhood home, you might bring that to mind, or perhaps your mother's middle name and bring that to mind. That alone is retrieval practice, helping you learn those things that much better. Why should you trust this? Well, there's a huge body of literature, scientific literature, that shows that this practice works and is very, very effective. This is just a small subset. This is not my opinion. This is based in good, reliable science. This is all summarized in this headline of the New York Times. To really learn, quit studying and take a test. I couldn't agree more. A very cool fact about this is that retrieval is twice as effective as an additional study episode. That's a huge effect. It's better than studying. It's better than concept maps. It's better than lectures. It's better than taking notes. Yes, it's the best. So let me give you an example of this. So let's say we want to have some initial learning. This is like going to class. And let me give you an example of learning capitals of US states. So let's just take a subset of 7 states here. Okay, so let's say you learn those states, and now we're going to go and study that before a test. So one method is something like this. I ask you, the capital of California is blank. Bring it to mind. The capital of Nebraska is blank. Bring that to mind, and so on. And let's compare that with a different method of studying, which is to restudy the capitals. The capital of California is Sacramento. The capital of Nebraska is Lincoln, and so on. When people are tested on this, so if I tested you on those 7 states, what you find is that this first method of retrieval practice is far more effective in learning that information than simple restudying of the information. There are 2 very important notes with using retrieval practice. One is that you need a time delay after learning and before retrieval practice, and a time delay before the test. So no cramming here. And if you do that, that's how you're going to get the best benefit from retrieval practice. The other important note is that you can't have the information in front of you while you're retrieving. It seems to be obvious, but it's not always obvious that when you have information in front of you, that you can't actually test yourself. You can't bring it to mind because it's in front of you. So you have to put it away or use cued recall like a study guide or something like that. So should you always use retrieval practice? The answer is no, not always, because if you can't actually bring it to mind, if you can't retrieve it, then you need to go and restudy it. The good news is if you try to retrieve it first, it tells you what you know and what you don't know, and therefore it tells you what you need to go back and restudy. How to use it? Well, you can use recall like writing it down or telling a friend or even talking to yourself. You can use quizzes or Cornell notes are a great use of retrieval practice. You can use study groups to talk to each other about it. What about flashcards? Well, mixed bag here. They're good for memorizing, not so good for understanding. Whatever works for you is what you should use with retrieval practice. So why should you use this? Well, you're going to learn more, you'll save time, and you'll earn higher grades, guaranteed. So this is one of the best methods of enhancing learning and learning more. So the bottom line, the message here is test yourself and retrieve, and retrieve some more.